Commander Hyunwoo sat at his communication desk, staring at the silent screen. For 3 days now, nothing had come through from Earth. No messages, no data streams, no emergency signals. Just empty static where humanity's homeworld should be talking. The silence felt wrong. Humans were known across the galaxy for never shutting up. They talked about everything: their food, their weather, their families, their dreams. Other species often complained about the constant chatter from Earth. The Corellian ambassador once said humans could make conversation with a rock if they tried hard enough. But now, nothing. Hyunwoo pressed the communication button again. Earth, Central Command, this is Outpost 7 near Proxima. Please respond. He waited, counting the seconds. Still nothing. He had been trying the same call every hour for 72 hours straight. His fingers drummed against the metal desk. Something was very wrong. On the other side of the galaxy, Dr. So Young was having the same problem. Her research ship, Harmony's Edge, floated in deep space between star systems. She had been collecting samples from a new asteroid field when Earth went quiet. At first, she thought it was just a technical problem with her equipment. Run another diagnostic on the long-range communications, she told her assistant, a young Zelhari named Crix. I have run it 14 times, Dr. So Young, Crix replied, his blue skin showing patches of worry purple. The equipment works perfectly. Earth is simply not transmitting anything. So Young looked out the window at the distant stars. Somewhere out there was home, and home had gone silent. Her parents lived in Seoul. Her brother worked at the Mars shipyards. Her daughter attended university on Europa. All of them should be sending messages, making calls, living their noisy human lives. The quiet felt like death. Back on the Galactic Council station, chaos was beginning. Ambassador Jae-ho had been in the middle of a trade negotiation with the Vorthak Empire when his earpiece went dead. The signal from Earth had cut off mid-sentence while he was discussing grain exports. Technical difficulties, he had told the Mai. Vorthak negotiators with a nervous smile. We will continue tomorrow. That was 3 days ago. Tomorrow had become today, and today was becoming another silent tomorrow. The Vorthak representatives were getting suspicious. Their leader, a massive creature covered in scales and bad intentions, leaned across the negotiation table. Where are your instructions from Earth, human? We grow tired of waiting. Jae-ho straightened his tie, a nervous habit he had picked up during his years as a diplomat. I am authorized to make decisions on behalf of Earth. We do not need to wait for approval on every small detail. It was a lie, and they both knew it. Humans always checked with their home world. They loved committees and discussions and getting everyone's opinion. The fact that Jae-ho was making decisions alone told the Vorthak everything they needed to know. Something had happened to Earth. The news spread through the galactic communication networks like wildfire. Within hours, every species knew that the IAO, humans, had gone quiet. The reactions were mixed. Some species celebrated. The Rigelian merchants had always complained that human traders talked too much during negotiations. Finally, they said, we can conduct business in peace. Others worried. The Andromedans had grown to enjoy human entertainment broadcasts. Their favorite human comedy show had been running for 67 years, and now there would be no new episodes. But the Vorthak Empire saw opportunity. For 200 years they had wanted to expand into human space. Earth's colonies were rich in resources and positioned along important trade routes. The humans had always been too well connected, too well defended. But if Earth had gone silent, if something had happened to their homeworld, Admiral Taemin's last transmission had been routine. He was commanding the Deep Space Patrol Fleet, checking on mining operations in the outer colonies. His final message was a simple status report. All stations secure, returning to base, Taemin out. That was the last anyone heard from him or his entire fleet. On Outpost 7, Commander Hyunwoo made a decision. He activated the emergency beacon, sending out a call to every human ship, station, and colony in known space. The response was immediate and terrifying. Only 12 ships responded. 12 ships out of thousands. 12 scattered voices in the darkness where once there had been the constant chatter of humanity. Hyunwoo's hands shook as he counted the responses. The cargo ship Lucky Dragon near Vega, a research station orbiting a distant pulsar, a few diplomatic vessels at various alien worlds, a handful of exploration ships in the far reaches of space. All of them were asking the same questions. Where is everyone? What happened to Earth? Why are we alone? Dr. So Young was among those who responded. Her voice crackled through the communication system, distorted by the vast distances of space. Commander Hyunwoo, this is Dr. So Young aboard, the Harmony's Edge. I have been monitoring all frequencies for 3 days. No signals from Earth, Mars, Europa, Titan, or any of the major colonies. It is as if our entire civilization simply stopped talking at the same moment. That is impossible, Hyunwoo replied. But even as he said it, he knew it was not impossible. It was happening. Over the next few hours, the remaining humans shared what little information they had. The silence had begun at exactly 14:32 Galactic Standard Time on a Tuesday. There had been no warning, no emergency broadcasts, no distress signals. One moment, the galaxy had been full of human voices. The next moment, silence. Some of the humans wanted to return home immediately to find out what had happened. Others argued it was too dangerous. If something had destroyed Earth and all the colonies, going back might mean walking into the same trap. Ambassador Jaeho's voice joined the conversation from the council station. We need to be careful. The other species are watching us. Some of them are already making plans to move into our territory. If we appear weak or scattered, we will lose everything our people built. Our people might already be lost, said Captain Yoo-jin from the merchant vessel Silver Star. Her voice was bitter with grief. My entire family lived on Earth. My children, my parents, my husband. If they are gone. We do not know they are gone, Hyunwoo interrupted firmly. We know they are quiet. That is different. But even as he said the words, he wondered if he believed them. Humans did not go quiet. Humans talked and argued and shared and complained and celebrated. Silence was not in their nature. Unless something had changed that nature forever. In the darkness of space, 12 human voices continued to whisper to each other. The last echoes of a civilization that had suddenly, mysteriously, chosen to stop speaking to the stars. 3 months had passed since the Great Silence began, and the galaxy had already started to forget about humans. Most alien species had decided that Earth and its colonies were gone for good. Some kind of plague, they said. Maybe a civil war. Perhaps the humans had just decided to disappear. Whatever the reason, the galaxy was moving on without them. The Zelhari Confederation had already claimed 3 former human mining worlds. Their ships arrived with powerful drilling equipment and started pulling valuable metals from the ground. The humans are not using these resources, their High Council announced. We will put them to better use. The Vorthak Empire was more direct. They simply invaded. Their war fleets moved into human space and declared it conquered territory. When no resistance came, when no human ships appeared to defend their worlds, the Vorthaks knew for certain that something terrible had happened to Earth's children. Captain Yoo-jin watched this happen from her hiding spot behind a distant moon. Her merchant ship Silver Star was not built for war, but she had to see what was happening to her people's worlds. What she saw made her sick. Vorthak soldiers marched through the empty streets of New Seoul, a human colony that once held 2 million people. The buildings were intact, the power still worked. Food was still fresh in the refrigerators, but every single person was gone. Not dead, just gone. Where did they all go? Yoo-jin whispered to herself as she watched through her ship's telescope. There were no bodies, no signs of struggle, no indication of panic or disaster. It looked like everyone had simply walked away from their lives all at the same time. The Vorthaks were asking the same question, but they did not care about the answer. They moved their own people into the human homes and started using the human factories. Within weeks, New Seoul became New Vorthak, a name that made Yujin want to vomit. Similar scenes played out across dozens of human worlds. The aliens moved in and took over, stripping away every trace that humans had ever lived there. It was like watching grave robbers at work. Back on his outpost, Commander Hyunwoo was trying to organize the scattered humans who remained. His small communication network had grown from 12 voices to almost 50, as more isolated humans made contact. Most were researchers, diplomats, or traders who had been far from home when the silence began. "We need to stick together," Hyunwoo told them during their daily conference call. "We are all that remains of humanity in known space. If we scatter, we will be forgotten completely." Engineer Dong Ho disagreed. His voice came from a research station near the Galactic Rim, where he had been studying black hole formation. "We should go back," he said. "We should find out what happened to our people. Maybe they need our help. And maybe we will disappear too," replied Dr. So-young. "Until we understand what caused this, returning to human space is suicide." The debate had been going on for weeks. Some wanted to investigate, others wanted to hide and wait. A few wanted to start new human colonies in distant, unexplored regions of the galaxy. But Dong Ho had been working on something else. As an engineer, he was good at finding patterns in data. For months, he had been studying the last communications from Earth and the colonies. Most people heard only normal conversation in those final transmissions. Family calls, business meetings, scientific reports. Dong Ho heard something different. "Listen to this," he said during one of their conference calls. He played a recording of a routine weather report from Earth's Global Climate Center. To most people, it sounded like a normal broadcast about temperature and rainfall. But Dong Ho had run the numbers through analysis software. "The temperature readings spell out coordinates when you convert them to binary code," he explained. "The rainfall data contains timing sequences. This is not a weather report, this is an encrypted message." The other humans listened in stunned silence as Dong Ho played more recordings. A shipping report that contained hidden mathematical formulas. A news broadcast with concealed coordinates. A children's educational program with timing codes buried in the lesson plan. "They knew," Dr. So-young whispered. "Our people knew something was coming. They were sending coded messages." "But to whom?" asked Captain Yujin. "And what do the messages say?" Dong Ho had been working on that question for weeks. "The coordinates all point to the same general region of space, about 15 light-years from Earth in what used to be called the empty quarter. There is nothing there, no stars, no planets, just dark space. And the timing codes? They count down to a specific date and time, 6 months from now." The implications hit everyone at once. Somewhere out there, in a region of space that appeared empty, something was supposed to happen in 6 months. And humanity's final messages had been instructions to find it. Meanwhile, Dr. So-young was making her own disturbing discovery. Her research ship specialized in studying space phenomena, and she had been detecting strange readings from various locations throughout the galaxy. At first, she thought her instruments were malfunctioning. The readings showed ripples in space-time, tiny distortions that should not exist. But the distortions were not random. They appeared in patterns, and those patterns were slowly expanding outward from the direction of Earth. "It is like watching waves spread out from where a stone fell into a pond," she reported to the others. "Except the pond is space itself, and the stone was something that happened in our solar system." Captain Yujin had seen something else that worried her. While spying on the Vorthak occupation forces, she had intercepted some of their military communications. The Vorthaks were not just taking over human worlds, they were preparing for something bigger. "They are gathering their entire war fleet," she reported. "Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. They are planning a massive campaign to expand their territory while the humans are gone." But the Vorthaks were not the only ones making aggressive plans. The Corellian Defense Force was mobilizing too. So were the Rigelian trade guilds and the Andromedans' military complexes. It seemed like every major power in the galaxy was preparing for war, all of them trying to grab territory and resources, while humanity was not around to stop them. Ambassador Jae-ho was still trying to maintain diplomatic relations from the Galactic Council Station, but it was becoming harder every day. The other ambassadors treated him like a ghost. someone representing a dead civilization. They were polite, but they no longer listened to him when he spoke in council sessions. The humans had their time. The Vorthak ambassador told him after one particularly frustrating meeting, "Now it is over. You should accept this reality." But Jeho was not ready to accept anything. That night he sent a message to the scattered humans. "Whatever happened to our people, it was planned. The aliens sense weakness, and they are moving. To take advantage, we need to be ready for whatever comes next." As if to prove his point, disturbing reports began to filter through the galactic communication networks. A Zelhari mining fleet had vanished near the edge of former human space. One day they were there, transmitting regular status reports. The next day, nothing. The Zelhari High Command blamed equipment failure, but Captain Yu Jin had been monitoring that region of space. She saw no wreckage, no distress signals, no sign that the ships had ever been there at all. Just like the humans, they had simply disappeared. "It is starting," Engineer Dong Ho said when he heard the news. "Whatever took our people, it is not finished. And in 6 months we are going to find out what it really wants." The galaxy continued to spin, unaware that the silence from Earth was not an ending. It was a countdown. And when the timer reached 0, everything would change again. In the darkness, between stars, something vast and patient was waiting, and it was learning to be very, very quiet. 6 months after Earth went silent, the galaxy had settled into its new normal. The Vorthak Empire controlled most of former human space. The Zelhari Confederation had strip-mined dozens of human worlds. Other species had divided up trade routes and colonies among themselves like pieces of a pie. General Sung Ho, who had been commanding a deep space patrol when the silence began, now led what remained of humanity in exile. From his hidden base in an asteroid field, he coordinated the activities of nearly 200 surviving humans scattered across the galaxy. It was not many people to represent an entire species, but they were all that was left. "Today marks 6 months, he announced during their daily communication meeting. "According to Engineer Dong Ho's calculations, we should expect something to happen soon." "What kind of something?" asked Dr. Hai Jin, a quantum physicist who had been studying the strange space distortions that Dr. So Young had detected months earlier. "The readings I am getting suggest massive energy buildups in multiple sectors. It is like the universe itself is holding its breath." Captain Boram, commanding the last functional human warship outside the Sol system, had her own concerns. "The aliens are getting nervous. Vorthak patrol fleets are doubling their security sweeps. The Corellians have recalled all their exploration ships. Everyone is acting like they expect trouble. They had good reason to be nervous. Over the past 6 months, 11 alien fleets had vanished without explanation, not just disappeared. They had been erased so completely that there was no evidence they had ever existed. No wreckage, no distress signals, no witness accounts. One day they were there. The next day the galaxy acted as if they had never been. The Xiar pattern was becoming clear to those who cared to look. Every vanished fleet had one thing in common. They had been planning aggressive moves into former human territory. "It is not random," General Sung Ho told his people. "Whatever is happening, it is targeting our enemies specifically. Someone or something is protecting human interests. But who and how?" The answer came in the form of a message that should have been impossible. Captain Boram was patrolling near the edge of what used to be called the Empty Quarter when her ship's communication system activated on its own. She had not sent any signals, but her equipment began receiving a transmission on a frequency that her sensors said did not exist. The voice that came through the speakers was familiar, but wrong somehow. It sounded like Admiral Taman, the fleet commander who had vanished 6 months ago with all his ships, but the voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Boram, this is Admiral Taman. Do not respond to this message. Do not attempt to trace this signal. Simply listen." Boram's hands froze over her control panel. Taman was supposed to be dead or missing or whatever had happened to the rest of humanity. How was he talking to her? "We are still here," the voice continued. "All of us. Every human who went silent 6 months ago. We have not died and we have not disappeared. We have changed. The transmission was full of static, as if it was coming from very far away, or from very close, but through some kind of barrier. We learned something, Boram. We learned that the galaxy was planning to destroy us. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. Too many species saw humanity as a threat to their expansion plans. They were coordinating, preparing for a war that would wipe us out completely. Boram wanted to respond, wanted to ask 1,000 questions, but something told her to stay quiet and keep listening. So we made a choice. We chose to step sideways, into spaces between the normal dimensions. We are still here, but we exist in layers of reality that others cannot see or touch. From here, we can watch everything. We can protect what remains of our people. The signal began to fade, becoming harder to understand. The coordinates in the final messages were not a destination, Boram. They were a warning. In that region of space, we built something. A gateway. A way for the rest of you to join us when the time comes. But first, we must finish cleaning up the galaxy. Cleaning up, Boram whispered to herself. As if the voice could hear her thoughts, it answered. The species that plan to destroy humanity are learning what it means to face us when we are no longer bound by normal space and time. They wanted us gone. We are granting their wish, but not in the way they expected. The transmission cut off, leaving Boram alone with her thoughts and a million new questions. She immediately contacted General Shung Ho and the others, sharing the recording of Taemin's message. The reaction was mixed. Some humans were relieved to learn that their people were still alive, even if they existed in some incomprehensible new form. Others were terrified by the implications. They are talking about genocide, said Dr. So Young, destroying entire species because of what they might have done. No, corrected Engineer Dong Ho, who had been analyzing the message. They are talking about justice. How many human worlds have been invaded in the past 6 months? How many of our colonies have been stripped bare? The aliens did not wait to see if we were really gone. They moved in immediately and started stealing everything we built. Dr. Hyejin had been studying the quantum signatures in the transmission. The energy patterns matched the distortions I have been tracking. Our people have somehow learned to exist in multiple dimensions at once. They can observe normal space without being detected. They can act without being stopped. That explains the vanishing fleets, realized Captain Boram. Our people have been picking off the most aggressive species one by one, making them disappear so completely that other aliens do not even remember they existed. It was a terrifying thought. Humanity had not died or disappeared. They had evolved into something far more dangerous than any alien species had imagined. Over the following weeks, more evidence appeared. The Corellian war fleet that had been preparing to invade, the former human colony of New Shanghai, simply stopped existing one Tuesday morning. Not destroyed, not defeated. They had never been. Records of their planned invasion vanished from computer systems. The Corellians themselves forgot they had ever intended to attack human territory. The Rigelian trade guild that had been selling human artifacts stolen from abandoned colonies found their entire merchant fleet gone. Their leaders woke up one morning with no memory of ever dealing in human goods. The stolen artifacts had vanished from their warehouses as if they had never been taken. One by one, species that had moved aggressively against human interests were either disappearing entirely or losing all memory of their anti-human activities. It was like watching history rewrite itself in real time. But not all aliens were being targeted. Species that had remained neutral or had tried to help humanity were left alone. The Andromedans, who had genuinely mourned humanity's disappearance, found their territory suddenly expanded as former human colonies appeared in their space with notes saying, "Use these well." The message was clear. Humanity was still watching, still judging, still protecting their friends and punishing their enemies. General Sung Ho called an emergency meeting of all surviving humans. "We have a choice to make," he told them. "We can try to return to normal space and rebuild what we lost. Or we can accept the invitation and join our people in whatever they have become." The debate was intense. Some humans wanted to stay in normal space and try to rebuild their civilization the old way. Others were curious about this new form of existence that their people had discovered. "What if we choose wrong?" asked Captain Eugene. "What if we join them and lose our humanity in the process? What if we do not join them and get left behind when the galaxy changes again?" countered Dr. Hyjin. The questions would have to wait. Because across the galaxy, something new was beginning to happen. Reports were coming in of entire star systems flickering in and out of existence. Planets that were there one day and gone the next, only to reappear somewhere else. Reality itself was becoming flexible, and at the center of it all was a species that had learned to exist in the spaces between what was real and what was possible. The galaxy was about to discover that making humanity go silent had been the worst mistake in the history of the universe. 1 year after the Great Silence began, the galaxy was in chaos. 7 major species had vanished completely, leaving behind empty star systems and confused allies who could barely remember that those species had ever existed. Trade routes collapsed. Military alliances dissolved. Entire sectors of space became no-go zones where reality seemed to bend and twist according to unknown rules. Commander Wu Jin led a reconnaissance mission into one of these affected areas. His small scout ship moved carefully through space that had once belonged to the hegemony of Korth, a militant species that had been planning to enslave human colonies. Now the Korth were gone, and their worlds had become something impossible. "Report. What you see." General Sung Ho's voice crackled through the communication system from their hidden base. Wu Jin stared out his view screen at a sight that made his brain hurt. "I see a planet that is folded. Like someone took a piece of paper and folded it in half, except the paper is an entire world. There are cities on both sides of the fold, and I can see people walking on surfaces that should be perpendicular to each other." "People? What kind of people?" "They look human, General, but they are walking on walls and ceilings as if gravity works differently for them. And there are structures here that exist in more dimensions than I can count. Buildings that are bigger on the inside than the outside. Roads that loop back on themselves through space that should not exist." Other reconnaissance teams reported similar impossibilities. Former Zelhari space now contained worlds where time moved backwards on Tuesdays. The old Vorthek Empire had been replaced by a region where every planet existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, and the inhabitants seemed to be able to choose which version of reality they wanted to experience. Dr. Minho, the physicist, who had been studying these phenomena, had a theory. "They are not destroying the hostile species," he told the gathered humans during their weekly conference. "They are relocating them, moving them into pocket dimensions where they cannot threaten anyone else." "But why make it so strange?" asked Captain Boram. "Maybe because they can," Dr. Minho replied. "Our people have learned to manipulate the fundamental structure of space-time. They are not just moving planets and stars. They are rewriting the rules of physics in localized areas." The evidence was overwhelming. Humanity had not just survived their mysterious disappearance. They had evolved into something far beyond what any species had ever imagined possible. They could create dimensions, fold space, manipulate time, and rewrite reality according to their will. And they were still watching over the humans who remained in normal space. Captain Yu Jin discovered this firsthand when her merchant ship was attacked by pirates near the Rigelian border. The pirates had been preying on refugee ships fleeing the chaos in former human space. They surrounded her vessel and demanded she surrender her cargo. "You are alone, human," the pirate leader taunted over the communication channel. "Your people are gone. No one will help you now." Yujin prepared to fight, even though her merchant ship was no match for the pirate fleet. But before she could fire a shot, something extraordinary happened. Space around the pirate ships began to twist and bend. The vacuum itself seemed to grab the attacking vessels and pull them away from Yujin's ship. One moment the pirates were there threatening her. The next moment they were simply gone. Not destroyed. Gone. In their place, floating in the empty space, was a simple message written in letters made of starlight. "You are never alone." Similar incidents were reported throughout the galaxy. Every surviving human who faced danger found themselves mysteriously protected. Pirates vanished. Hostile, Aliens forgot why they had been angry. Dangerous situations resolved themselves in impossible ways. The galaxy's remaining species began to understand that the humans had not disappeared. They had become something that could watch from the shadows and act without being seen. Something that remembered every friend and every enemy. Admiral Na Young finally revealed herself to the galaxy in a broadcast that reached every inhabited system at once. She appeared as a shimmering figure that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions, her image bending and shifting as if she was not quite solid. "People of the galaxy," she said, her voice somehow coming from inside every listener's mind rather than through their communication equipment. "I am Admiral Na Young, speaking on behalf of humanity. We have not died, and we have not abandoned you. We have simply learned to exist in a way that allows us to see the truth." Her image shifted, showing scenes of the galaxy's recent history, alien species making secret plans to invade human space, military leaders drawing up strategies to wipe out humanity entirely, trade alliances forming with the specific goal of dividing human resources among themselves. "You thought we were gone," Na Young continued, "so you showed us who you really were. You revealed your true intentions when you thought no one was watching. Now we have acted on what we learned." The broadcast showed what had happened to the vanished species. They were not dead. They had been moved to carefully constructed pocket dimensions where they could live out their aggressive fantasies without threatening anyone else. Warrior species found themselves in dimensions where they could fight forever against equally matched opponents. Conquest-minded empires discovered worlds to conquer that reset themselves every few years, providing endless opportunities for expansion that never actually harmed anyone. "We are not your enemies," Na Young explained. "We are your guardians. We have taken the responsibility of protecting this galaxy from those who would destroy it. The species that threatened peace have been relocated. The species that sought cooperation and friendship remain free to thrive." The message was clear. Humanity was now the ultimate authority in the galaxy, but they were a benevolent one. They had the power to erase entire civilizations from existence, but they chose instead to give those civilizations new places to live, where they could not hurt others. "Some of you will fear us now," Na Young said. "That is understandable. But fear us only if you intended harm, if you sought peace, if you valued cooperation, if you cared about the welfare of all species, then you have nothing to fear. We are still the same humans you knew. We still want the same things we always wanted: peace, prosperity, and friendship among all peoples." The broadcast ended with an invitation. "To our fellow humans who remain in normal space, we offer you a choice. You may stay where you are and help us build a better galaxy from within normal reality, or you may join us in the dimensions beyond, where we are learning to create wonders that we never dreamed possible. Either choice is valid. Either way, you will always be part of humanity's future." General Sung Ho gathered the surviving humans to discuss the offer. The debates were intense. Some wanted to join their transformed people immediately. Others wanted to remain in normal space and help rebuild human civilization in the traditional way. "What if we lose ourselves in the process?" worried Dr. So Young. "What if becoming interdimensional means we stop being human? What if staying normal means we get left behind as the universe evolves?" countered Engineer Dong Ho. Captain Boram had a different perspective. "Maybe it does not matter which choice we make," she said. "Maybe the important thing is that we have choices at all. 6 months ago, we thought our entire species was extinct. Now we learn that not only did we survive, but we became something amazing." As they debated, reports continued to come in from across the galaxy. The chaos was settling into a new kind of order. Species that had proven themselves peaceful found their territories protected by invisible barriers that hostile forces could not cross. Worlds that had been ravaged by war were mysteriously healing overnight. Resources were appearing where they were needed most. Humanity was gardening the galaxy, tending it like a vast park where all species could grow and thrive according to their nature. The aggressive ones had been given their own spaces to be aggressive, and the peaceful ones had been given protection and support. It was not the galaxy that anyone had expected, but it was beginning to look like the galaxy that everyone had secretly hoped for. a place where might did not make right, where the strong protected the weak, and where everyone had a chance to flourish. And in the depths of interdimensional space, humanity continued to watch and learn and grow, becoming something greater than they had ever been while never forgetting what they had always wanted to be. The silence had ended. The real conversation was just beginning. 2 years after the silence began, the galaxy had transformed into something unrecognizable. President Sang-ho, elected by the surviving humans to represent their interests in normal space, stood before the reformed Galactic Council in a chamber that defied physical laws. The council station itself had been rebuilt by interdimensional humans into something that existed in 17 different dimensions simultaneously. Delegates could attend meetings in person, by hologram, or through quantum consciousness projection. Some species sent representatives who existed only as patterns of thought, while others appeared as beings of living energy. The age of conquest is over, Sang-ho announced to the assembled delegates. The age of cooperation begins now. The new galactic order was unlike anything that had existed before. Humanity served as both participants and overseers, maintaining the balance between their visible representatives in normal space and their transcended people in the interdimensional realm. Ambassador Ji Woo handled the practical details of this new arrangement. She had chosen to remain in normal space, serving as a bridge between regular reality and the impossible regions where humanity now primarily existed. Her job was to negotiate treaties, resolve disputes, and help other species adapt to a galaxy where the old rules no longer applied. The Andromedans are requesting assistance with their population expansion, she reported during a meeting with President Sang-ho. Their birth rates have increased dramatically since they gained access to the pocket dimensions we created for them. And the Corellians? Still adjusting to the concept of voluntary cooperation instead of enforced hierarchy. But they are making progress. The therapy dimensions seem to be helping them work through their aggressive tendencies. The galaxy had become a vast experiment in social engineering, guided by humanity's newfound ability to create custom realities for different species' needs. Aggressive races were given controlled environments where they could satisfy their need for conflict without harming others. Peaceful species were given protected spaces where they could develop their arts and sciences without fear. But the most remarkable change was happening to Earth itself. Captain Insu commanded one of the new interdimensional vessels that could travel between normal space and the folded regions where Earth now existed. His ship could phase through dimensions, allowing him to visit the transformed human homeworld whenever duty required. Earth is beautiful now, he reported to the scattered humans who still lived in normal space. It exists in 7 dimensions, simultaneously. You can walk through forests that are also cities, swim in oceans that are also libraries, and climb mountains that are also symphonies. The human homeworld had become a living work of art, shaped by minds that were no longer limited by normal physics. Every human who had vanished during the Great Silence was there, but they were more than they had been. They could exist as individuals or merge into group consciousnesses. They could experience reality as physical beings or as pure thought. Some humans chose to join them. Engineer Dong Ho was among the first to make the transition, walking through a dimensional gateway that appeared in his research station one quiet morning. He emerged on the other side, transformed into something that could think with the speed of light and create matter from pure intention. Others chose to remain in normal space. Dr. So Young continued her research, but now she studied phenomena that would have been impossible before humanity's transformation. She could communicate directly with the interdimensional humans, learning about the deeper structures of reality that normal science could barely detect. They are still human, she assured those who worried about their transformed people. They still care about the same things. They still laugh at jokes and mourn their losses and celebrate their victories. They are just more than they were before. The galaxy continued to stabilize under humanity's gentle guidance. Species that had once been enemies learned to cooperate when their fundamental needs were met in separate dimensions. Trade flourished when everyone had access to the resources they required. Art and science advanced rapidly when different species could share knowledge without fear of exploitation. But the ultimate test came when a new threat appeared. Long-range sensors detected an approaching fleet from outside the galaxy. The ships were massive, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Their transmission was simple and direct. "We are the Devourers. We consume civilizations. Prepare for assimilation." The Devourers had swept through 17 galaxies, leaving nothing but empty space behind them. They had technology that could break apart planets and use the matter to build more ships. They had weapons that could ignite stars and turn them into supernovas. They had never encountered resistance that could stop them. They arrived at the edge of the Milky Way expecting to find another collection of primitive species squabbling over resources. Instead, they found something impossible. The first Devourer. Scout ships simply disappeared when they crossed into galactic space. Not destroyed, not defeated, they ceased to exist. The main fleet sent more scouts. Those vanished too. Entire squadrons of their most advanced warships entered the galaxy and were never seen again. Finally, the Devourer command ship itself approached, a vessel the size of a small moon that could crack planets in half with its gravity weapons. It made it exactly 1 light-year into the galaxy before Admiral Nayung appeared on its bridge. She materialized as a figure of pure light, standing calmly in front of the Devourer commander. The alien was a massive creature of metal and hate, built for nothing but conquest and consumption. "I am Admiral Nayung, representing the species you call human," she said. "We would like to talk." The Devourer commander laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "We do not talk, we consume. Your galaxy will be stripped bare and converted into ships for our fleet." "That will not happen," Nayung replied calmly. "Not because we will fight you, but because we will give you something better." With a gesture, she opened a window in space that showed the Devourer commander something extraordinary. A pocket dimension containing millions of empty galaxies, each one filled with resources waiting to be harvested. Worlds of pure metal, stars made of useful elements, entire systems designed for efficient consumption. "Your species needs to consume," Nayung explained. "We understand that. It is your nature just as cooperation is ours. We will not try to change what you are. Instead, we offer you unlimited resources to consume in dimensions where no other life exists." The Devourer commander stared at the infinite feast that had been prepared for his species. "What do you want in return?" "Leave this galaxy alone. Take your people to the dimensions we have prepared for you. Consume to your heart's content without harming anyone else." It was the same solution humanity had used for all the aggressive species they had encountered. Not destruction, not forced change, but accommodation. Everyone could have what they needed, as long as they got it in a way that did not harm others. The Devourers accepted the offer. Within weeks, their entire fleet had vanished into the custom dimensions where they could consume forever, without running out of resources or encountering other life forms. The galaxy celebrated, but humanity remained humble. They had not won through superior firepower or clever tactics. They had won by understanding that every species had needs, and that those needs could be met without causing conflict. President Sang-Ho addressed the Galactic Council one final time as the crisis passed. "This is what we learned when we went silent," he said. "We learned to listen. We heard your plans and your fears and your dreams. We learned that every species wants something different, but everyone wants to be safe and happy and free to be themselves. When we disappeared, we were not running away. We were learning how to create a galaxy where everyone could have what they needed, where warriors could fight without killing, where builders could create without destroying, where artists could dream without fearing." The chamber fell silent as delegates from hundreds of species absorbed his words. "The galaxy belongs to all of us now," Sang-Ho continued. "Not because we conquered it, but because we learned to share it. And if new threats come, if new species arrive who think they can take what is ours, they will learn what we learned, that the universe is big enough for everyone if we are wise enough to use it properly." As the council session ended, reports came in from across the galaxy. New dimensional gateways were opening, leading to custom realities designed for species that had not even been discovered yet. Humanity was preparing for a future where the galaxy would expand beyond physical space into infinite dimensions of possibility. The silence had been broken, but the listening continued. Somewhere in the spaces between realities, humanity watched and waited and planned for a future where every voice could be heard and every dream could be fulfilled. The galaxy had learned to sing in harmony, and the song was just beginning.